Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to dive into this object numbering thing, but it looks like Rishva actually traced it down for us. It object bank. Hopefully, we'll be able to use settings for this. It is going to have to be kind of a before startup thing for sure. No. I'm gonna want some of our testing stuff. Okay, so the name of this might, well, something the name of the setting, maybe the name of the patch. Might actually depend a little bit on what it was. So for one thing, what changed around the same time? Well, we knew there were a couple patches there. I just wasn't sure which detail it was. No, it was SDG. Don't want all branches. So somewhere there was an optimization thing in here. And this is in Object Bank. Okay, there were further changes downstream. Where is this no right to file coming in, though? Huh. I mean, not writing to file probably saves something. But that is not a new flag, it's just a new check. Oh, in no right to file. Okay, that makes the file name. And does the ID advance. So where do we pass this? Well, let's re-add object. This is another gigantic call. So it's add object proper where that code was existing. So that's re-add object. Maybe it gets called from someplace else. That may have been too wide a scope for searching. Editor page, object bank. So it must only be re-add object that we're seeing? Done with resave. Resave all. What's the entry point into this? Init object bank start? A new object property added. I didn't see either of those called from there. Num objects. Rebuilding. It's like, when do we actually say no right to file? Auto-generate used objects. So that saves some stuff. It returns cache num file. And an object bank finish. And that does the skip. So does that like double generate the IDs? Is that what's happening? How did I miss that call before? Those are all no right to file. Okay, so there's a false during resave. So it's re-adding the objects in order to set up all the memory stuff. Maybe? We've already got an object. Oh, maybe it's... No, that wouldn't do dummies. What are you doing? Okay, you're resave. Replace object ID. Dummy number. Just changing the description. Look, it still has to have some kind of object ID, right? It doesn't need a file name. So this has to return an ID, which has to come from somewhere. Okay, so we're not actually saving it to disk. Live in-memory database. There's the map expansion. That's the actual right. If new ID equals -1, next object number equals 1. Ah, but it reads it before it does that. In replace ID, which oh, we'd have to sort out what that is. It's probably a -1 or something. So you do have an ID. Next object number file, read file contents. Write to file. But this is also going to get skipped. So we're not going to change the next object number. So they would all... But you're actually next object number. Your new ID is next object number. We've also got max ID. So next object number must be for the saved objects, and then max ID is the virtual objects. So is there something else that's fixing up new ID if it's -1? Ah, there is. That's doing pretty much the same thing. So, but why did this change object numbering then? I guess there is an extra conditional there. Maybe it affected the use of, I mean, that's also conditional on the no right to file. That's all the lines of the file. I mean, he apparently nailed it down to that. I don't see why we would actually expect different results there. Oh, okay. So this is arguably even perhaps wrong. Well, if it sets it to that and then checks it less than max ID plus 1. Maybe there's like the one object number there or something that doesn't, it's like right on the edge. Our next object number is max ID plus 1. So that one gets that same number instead of just being assigned to max ID. I don't know if it's, so it has to be somewhere over it. Yeah, so we're back to where we'd have to try running it with and without and see what numbers get assigned to what objects. Do we have useful properties here? Well, we've got in description. Now there was an early return somewhere in here. Failed to save if it is a thing we have to actually save, which when does max ID change? No ID greater than max ID. Oh, I wonder if that could actually bump it somehow. Like the next object number. Ah, okay, and then it sets up the in-memory record. Oh, there's some freeing here too. So that's the ID. Those are where things should be set up. It's going to be large as heck. In description, oh, wait, I'm changing stuff. Well, it's a pretty simple change. That is server. And of course, numbering will be broken on this server because it's things have to match. Oh, and this is only doing, it loaded those objects, and this only happens for the auto-generated ones. And we got actual gameplay stuff. So that's a lot of objects. All right, so we make a copy of that. We'll probably mark this spot. And is it this one? It's a file name equals. Maybe I was looking at the wrong spot. That's loading it. Oh, that's advancing the number. When it's allocating a name, it's actually making the lines. Which is more overhead. Inner place ID might be -1, in which case we advance the next object number. Right to file next That's saying it failed, but I think new ID would have actually been set above. That's saying it would actually be writing all of these to disk. And we've never noticed that? No. Hasn't been touched in ages. That's, going a lot slower. Well, I guess we are effectively undoing an optimization, right? But this is objects. Nothing here seems different. I don't really have a whole lot of auto-generated objects, though. Yep, I wanted lines. So we think it's going to be around 4,000 down. Oop, that was too much. Well, almost. Wait, what? We get a bad string with no termination? Oh, psh. Okay, that ended up doing capital J. Yeah, most of the way. I had done the scrolling I'd done earlier. Do you not have a directory or something? It was only 500. Well, it was definitely a speed up. Case sensitive. Wait. We deleted it somehow. This is 4885. Do you have a directory? Yeah. You didn't get B. It's not highlighting any differences. Must not like the spaces. It's only in the time. Unless there's some different patterns in 2 hours that are doing something. Well, we can do the loading step on 2-hull data. That doesn't do anything to the server. Okay, so you are actually not a useful version at all anyway. Possibly I removed the wrong one. So you'd kind of be B. These are definitely different line numbers, but there could have been other changes. Yeah, it's very different, and it is in add object. Oh, there's delete object from bank. We're removing a no write file. Yeah, those are the only ones that exist. I don't actually need you. There's some other object stuff there. Good thing the apocalypse is off. Now, I don't know what our total line count's going to be here. Oh, it's actually less generated objects? Well, okay, so maybe... I wonder if it was all the rail transitions and stuff that blew it up. That may have been a mistake. Okay, we seem to have actually had a difference. That's curious. I wonder if it ended up advancing the num objects by one. But according to this, it didn't change the numbering at all. Now, we do have some other differences in our files, because these line numbers are very different. Okay, that was not what we wanted. I thought that was a... paste. Oh, are you the complete command? No. Okay, we had something else in there. Oop. Probably just as well. I mean, it's coming from here. Now the tricky part. One life game source. Game source, 1 life. 2 hours, 1 life. Game source. In no default. Okay, so tool set records. All possible food IDs. I wonder if that's actually one of my things. Permitted biomes. Well, that might also be for yum tracking. Biome blocking. And pointers for walls and fences. Default object ID. Oh, tap out triggers? Okay, so that's... First on list to have unique sprite. Count visually unique objects, that was just kind of a reporting thing. Powers number list. Tool set, permitted biomes is bio-limited. Setup wall. All possible foods. Auto-orienting. Homeland. Should file be cached? Which used to be more... Used to be a different procedure. Set up road parents. Yum parent. Expert finding. Alcohol. Just a... That's a change. Text ground heat next object number. Mostly the same. Tools, tools, tools. Food IDs tap out. Default object ID. Sprite draw color override. Check draw pause. Okay, and now it's debugging. Nothing's jumping out as would interact with that. There's certainly not a lot of other changes in this immediate area. But he's also calling that as something that actually did change numbering. And approximately that time in history is when it did change. I wonder if there's something later on that's happening. Because it's not just the object IDs. Unless I was asking to overwrite the file. There's no other one lives here. We built this today. All right, what situation are we in right now? Oh, I closed them all. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Well, there's our file name equal. So we are in the new format right now. I mean, it actually almost seems like I should have seen some drift against my server. What was I seeing it now? It was like domestic bushes. It was beans. Let's see, so the last built here was that, so we actually need the variant. Rebuilding the cache. Oh. It's not, okay, so there is that one. If that is indeed what it is. I guess I probably would have been dry. Oh. I always do that after grog. No, that seems to be behaving properly. What is going on here? Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh no, I had this here too. It's probably going to be set up login wise. Oh, you didn't like the cache files, did you? Well, we've mainly been messing with objects. Well, that's new. Uh, I don't remember if there's any other kind of caches. So that clearly means something was changing there. No, 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 no. We were testing the new code. Okay, so nothing immediately off. Now, it was domestic berry bushes that had a problem before. Okay. So there is a difference. And why am I not catching it? Maybe I didn't copy my files right. No differences in this. Maybe it's a different number that matters? So standout C. Uh, hmm. Hmm. Did I make a copy? Let's just, first of all, make a copy. Then get that back to you, and then work on that. This is not on a test server. Oh, no, I copied C. Or I hit save at the wrong time. I hit save at the wrong time. So that's what we just loaded with. We did have the 442 versus 443 the one time. I wonder if it's doing something weird to the cache files. But why would that actually break it? Because clearly, we can launch if we do that. So it can run through from first principles. All right, get an actual copy of it. Tweak up the login message. Okay, so technically that's all one line. All right, so that's the only one. New placement, map change. This may have been some automated stuff too, so we're probably going to want more of a, well, player update. I mean, the berry was fine. PE, I don't know. Player update. So it would be after we were done with moves. I don't know if it's going to show where we sent a message. Nope, there's a move. Responsible equals -1. Oh, PM is a player move, right? Map change. Stone hatchet, and it is right after Wild Gooseberry use 5. So why aren't we getting object numbering differences here? Maybe I messed up the things I was using, or there was something with the caching? Loaded 4443 objects from objects folder. It might be that next object number thing that's off all exactly by 1. That's obviously incorrect. But that just means this object numbering is wrong, and I should be seeing it in the logs. Stone hatchet. But I didn't clear cache before. And of course, it could still be like some combination of things, of all the changes, so that just changing this in my copy doesn't work. And we wanted to, because that last time we built a cache, so this time we want to build a cache. Really? We actually did have it launched before. So now this can't even build a cache. That's interesting. Okay, we left that open. 88661. So I cannot say it's just that line. Well, we do know it's an off by 1. Where was... We didn't clear all the caches. 443. 442. But those numbers didn't change. Maybe it's how they're... Maybe I'm pulling the wrong number. When we look up a number to see, or look up an object ID, what do we actually look in? Maybe the ID isn't what we think it is. Get max object ID. So get object. Get object parent. Extract object ID, so that's for paper metadata. If it's in the map, my default object. So what really matters is where things are in the ID map. What is ID map? It is a straight up C pointer init object bank finish. New object record map size. Max ID +1. It is using object ID to set it. Record. What is records then? It's a vector of object record. All right, so that's the dense version of it that's not necessarily going to be in sorted order or anything. Then the map is going to have the large gap. Why is the gross size of this even relevant? Yeah, maybe we use it in the process. Still an object-based finish. Yeah, tap out triggers, some default objects. What's the size growing? New map size. Yeah, it's ID map. Well, maybe it gets used in here. Gotten. What's back in search objects? There's an add object. Maybe this is for the interactive use. Maybe we add object assigns it. Makes it searchable. It's using this lower, which could have been pre-computed. But like if this reallocation was causing so much trouble, I'm not even sure we need to be doing it in there. Anyway, we do not yet have evidence that that one statement makes a difference in the object numbering. Well, we've been looking at new ID inside of that function and not at well, there's new ID and there's my print. Is it possible it gets reassigned later? I wonder, could it be something when loading the cache? Because there was apparently something weird going on there. Oh no, this is, I forget which version we stopped at here. Six one stone hatchet. All right. Okay, it is currently off. We are printing something out. Oh, we changed some spacing or something here. Whale. So that would be the one before it. But where did I have that? Well, it was right where we started allocating the object. Or assigning the object. New ID. In description? I might have some dependency problems here. Yep. No, it's game.dep. And if this is it, we might actually see some differences in our version too. Let's build. Loaded a different number of objects, but the auto-generated objects are still the same. Well, now A was probably the, what was the one before that change? Before we undid the change. So why is this changing num records? Records.size, loaded objects from objects folder. Yet object bank finish. And in the old code, we did sort of one more, which you'd think. Well, there's a lot of other generated objects in here. Well, that's number of objects, not the object numbering. It seems like I'm going to have to dump the map after object generation is complete. Because things are different. Okay, we do have an object record here. You know what? And if we have this in here, it's just going to get confusing. Okay, so, oh, that looks bad. That looks very bad. Is this only for generated objects? Because I would have thought that this would be your standard object IDs. So you'd have like, you know... Oh no, this is in the order they're added, not the order of the map, which is going to make it I mean, that negative still looks pretty bad, but I may have to do a separate iteration through the map. Map size, auto-generate used objects. Init object bank. Oh, so I was looking at the wrong thing. Now, wait a minute. That was listing out uses of things. Oh, but it's calling re-add object, which calls add object with that flag. So actually, even this is too early anyway. Oh. Well, I don't know what the spacing was then. So, so that was all the loaded objects. This is going through all of the map size. Making all those things dummy objects. Auto-generated used objects, auto-generated variable objects. I don't think it's variable objects. It's a problem, but... Fill globe or triggers. Well, that is a map size iteration, and I think that's probably all of the things that are going to be generating objects. Tap out triggers. What is the last thing that iterates? Map. Biome limitations. We're already inside not equal to null. Could an ID -1 actually get written off the array? All right, was that did I quit or is that a crash? So it didn't go through that. Is there an early exit? It wouldn't know if there were biome limitations yet. Or was that the wrong standout file? Now wait. What? It's twice as big. It must have an end of file character in it? Huh? Maybe my file size is behind. Wait, was that a crash? It's like my purpose is to exit it immediately. It's an actual crash. Is that caused by this directly? Do I have to check to see if the description exists? I guess I have to check to see if its description exists. Oh. It would also be a very extremely long line. I don't know if that's going to bother anything. What the heck? Well, I want something here. Okay. I mean, that tells us something about what, well, the numbers could be swapped, depending on how it goes. This is very disturbing. Why would printing a string crash it? That -1's really starting to worry me. Okay, those are the numbers we expect. of course, could you, given that trouble, can we actually get this thing to run? In the other variation. I might have to clear clashes on this one too, because our generation method changed. And there we go. All right. Get this a little bit trimmed down. I mean, those are probably just kind of difference out normally. No difference in IDs. And yet, we know from the server interaction that there is a difference in IDs. We got back the ID of a hatchet when it should have been a berry. But we cannot detect any actual difference in ID generation to prove that the change we're making is having any difference whatsoever in how we use this. All right, so what about those negative ones? Our ID equals R. We do have an I here, and it's just going to be going in order. Oh, I don't know which version that was in. That -1 was in the with or without. I guess we can see if that makes any difference in the -1. Because, I mean, that could be having all kinds of effects. Mess something up. Yeah, so that just shouldn't be there. I would really expect there to be... Oh, we did capital lock for some reason. Okay. Lock 10. I wonder if that's actually like garbage memory. Because this should be before variant generation. Oh, this is in text order? Oh, right, because this would be based on loading of the object records. Oh dear. We generated that sometime. That would explain when there was an extra thing. Well, at this point, we've run both versions in Classic OHAL. So is that the fixed or the unfixed that's doing that? No -1 do I see here. So that could have been a correction for other changes. So that should never exist. Cache, next object. Ooh. Ooh. So this cache is going to be messed up now too. So is that this version of the program? What we did step back all of the changes, but... Or is that the one with the flag flipped? Definitely didn't have a crash. Okay, our cache is rebuilt. Because that was allowing it to write stuff out. Why would it get a -1? Are we processing a -1? No, that was being loaded because it got written out. There's sure a whole lot of something happening there. Okay, so just that change is kind of not good. So this might be an interaction with the other code updates. I've already done so much since this. Or maybe it's only the numbering that changed. Let that -1 through. Okay, so it is some combination of all the updates that's causing it to do that. And maybe it's something that's only in one life. So even though we're seeing problems there, like we shouldn't have a -1 object. We still don't see the actual differences in numbering. Okay, so there's a cache tight. There's this change, which is apparently a result of something else. Oh, this... That entire writing process might be new. No, that's next number. Is it only indentation that changed? Oh, he put it inside if replace ID equals -1. So all that code was there. It's just been moved inside. Writing only if we're replacing, but also turning off. Wait. So I'm not in that state right now. That's all the lines. Oh, I'm not sure that this is necessarily part of them. Well, that's an add object. This is next object number, and then always write. Wait. Wasn't this part of the change? Oh no, this is next file number, not file. I've been looking at the wrong section. Okay. Next number file. Next number file exists. Oh, maybe I went and modified the wrong thing on some of our iterations here, because I started getting into file name for whatever reason. So, well, if you were changing the wrong thing. But I've actually... But I thought I actually ran... old versus new version on the complete numbering system. Although this was only in our directory. All right, so this is only to read the file. And it looks like the replace ID is on a different conditional. So this is the actual edit we were making. All right, so we were at the end of finish to get a complete object numbering. And this seemed to be just random errors. I don't know if I can actually prevent it. It really should have been put here in But I guess you could have weird things. Maybe you could explain some things. Any windows? Not objects. Well, we might want to keep an eye on that just in case. I guess I could clean up some of the older ones. So we do see this, and IDs do seem to be in sync. It's the only place we do that with no right to file, 3240. Okay, so that was just the other thing I incorrectly changed. They're very similar. I probably actually shouldn't necessarily have anything that's too terribly different between them. Okay, yeah, cache not stale, took time. No differences in object IDs. At least when we finish the bank. Is this possibly a cache thing? Of course, in theory, we have to clear the cache in both circumstances. I think the cache is mainly for the file loading. It feels like after we get done, we still do the dynamic generation. I wonder if this has to do with the item gap in 2 hours. I could maybe see that. All right, well, let's actually clear our plate there. So right now, this is the modified version. That was a crash. Oh, you know what? You probably got a negative, didn't you? Objects, yeah. Now what I don't have for you is a good basis for what next object number should be. It should definitely not be 2. If I had to guess, it would be 88656. Four 4639, 4638. All right, don't need that. I want a new one. We kind of call this B because this is with the change. All right. Time. Okay, so that explains the rebuild. But we so far seem to have... Oh. No. That's all the objects there. Compressing. Everything matches up perfectly. Well, all right. I mean, maybe it's something like later on in the process that's doing it. So if we apply the patch, we don't actually need you. No, that patch itself is not sufficient. I guess it's, so I don't know what he's seeing. It could be interacting with other changes. It could be interacting with other... Wait. %d.txt. We still haven't found the right spot. What is this file name? Oh, I was looking at... I got stuck between this thing that changed in a similar fashion. So this wasn't even one of Jason's changes. This must have been minor gems. Reverting this change. When did it change? That is file name. But we were trying that as well. It also wasn't changing it, but it was creating bad -1 objects. And I might have to do this in the actual 2-hour source to see what they're seeing. So the weird thing is, we know something changed. And we've not yet observed anything actually changing. I guess that's my actual output line. Well, okay, so I do have a last known good on my client. I haven't trying to figure out what that is yet. Does it actually say the version difference? No, that's only JSON version, but we think it's an upstream change. There's all the transition reallocation. Oh, maybe I didn't use version numbers here. I mean, this is very, very old. Bin v 2070. Okay, so that's reverb cache. I don't know if it ever says like game version. Is that only during login? These were not login runs. I mean, this was older. I don't remember how much older. Which is not actually the last known good, but it is a end post. When this should work. No, so this is this actually something in the cache? Because I know I used this before, but I also like cleared cache stuff. Or maybe I actually had the original one rebuild things. Still, if that's the objects. Huh, how does the cache affect that? Yeah, so it's only the one right on the edge that's a problem. I think it's just about as fast away. So this is the old version that's still having that issue. Or the old code. What did I do last time? I, like, cleared caches and then had this one build it? So this might be very old, then. Or we've permanently modified something. Okay, we died. Shh, somebody's getting to pigs. So there's been some permanent change to the database here. What did I do last time? I tweaked with data version number. And I don't remember what the data here was. And then we used the original client to update it. But we still had to run the older version. Or maybe there's a bigger rebuild that happens when version number changes. Still, I deleted the cache files. Let's get a download update. So that says that something in the data files themselves were messed up. Okay. Stepping through the stages here. Okay, that's the berry bush. So this isn't that recent. Oh man, I wish I could... Or rather, all of these are doing it differently. Well, I've got a file date on it, I guess. I wonder... Now I'm wondering about this. So maybe there's more in the cache files than I thought. Oh, you know what? Did I get mixed object number wrong? Five seven. Did I do 5.6? Wonder why there's a gap there. Data version number. Oh, that's the wrong one. Closed it. Which version did I load here last, though? Okay. The last thing I might have done might have been the variation, but actually now they've all built it that way. Is it a change over multiple runs that has the feedback effect? So those are all the download updates. All right, where are we? I actually don't think I have. Well, there was one thing I wanted to change, even though I've not been able to. I'm going to narrow it down. That's just been big old mystery. Let's see. So the section timing, I was seeing lots of these 0.3s, so I think we're just gonna have to say if you're like an entire frame, let me know, because there's just so many of these little micro lags, and it's not enough to explain the massive pauses we're seeing. And every time I raise this limit, I just get a ton of messages at that limit. Like exactly at that limit. So it is not a useful search term. I think the other thing I want to try today is just, since I haven't been able to locate anything, I might just try moving the game to a different storage device. See if maybe I just bought a really bad hard drive, because it's been since I got the new computer. So that'll give us a little bit of something. Or the problems will go away and we'll have some idea what it was. I should probably eat lunch, though. So thanks for watching. No. Thanks to everybody who hosted me. That's when I'm usually on, and this... I didn't even realize how late it was getting. Let's see, do we have... yeah, I never know if these streams are One Life people or Code people. For One Life, I do see Rainy on. So if you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye, and until next time.